Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is beautiful March 11th, 2021. Welcome to the Thursday Fastball with yours truly, Crusty Canuck. Like I said, guest to be confirmed. And this week's guest is Fred Stockman, all the way from Massachusetts, like the Bee Gees song, right? So we're talking about politics. He hosts a podcast called the Fred Stockman Podcast, a military historian, quite the little patriot, and I'm actually teaching him the pros and cons of Canadian politics as we speak. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Fred Stockman. Welcome to the show, Fred.
Thank you for
Again.
having me.
Yes.
Was this third time, I think?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you were there with me the second week, and then the third week after that when we had Bennett on there, because I gave you some airtime. But interesting week here in the Great North. How about in the beautiful south of Ontario, there in Massachusetts?
Oh my gosh, I think, man, this country is, God, America's just, I don't know what's happening, bro. It's I don't even know if Joe Biden is still alive. It just kind of like shows up. You see his dead corpse sitting in a chair, and and he signed some paperwork somehow. Like Kamala's holding his arm like this, and he's just kind of moving it.
I just signed it one way or the other. Yeah.
I don't know why I'm here. Camilla, get me my CPAP.
Exactly. That's right. Having trouble breathing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, want to follow Fred, please follow him on YouTube. You can find his podcast. Just look at the Fred Stockman podcast. I know that code at the bottom is a lot to click on or copy and paste. Just look for Fred Stockman on YouTube. Quite the information of military history, especially with Commonwealth forces, and quite the airsofter, I believe you are too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
they want to ban airsoft here.
Yeah, I saw that. Actually, interesting thing. I was looking at some posts on Facebook from Airsoft, like Massachusetts, and Massachusetts Airsoft, and a couple of guys are saying that our state legislation is, saying stuff about it. I don't think they'll actually ban anything, but if they try to pull any moves, I think there's going to be a lot of people that would protest it. Believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully. There's just some people concerned that they see this happening in Canada, and Massachusetts follows Canadian gun laws a lot of the time because a lot of people go and hunt in Canada. So a lot of the guns we have in Massachusetts, you can go use in Canada. So that was just one concern people had. So I don't know. Airsoft's awesome. I love airsoft. I've played for about 5 years now. I started when I was like probably 14 or 15.
Okay.
Yeah. Great sport.
No, it's fun. It's recreational. You go out there and do your thing.
Yeah, there's two aspects of it. There's like people that just want to like shoot each other because that's fun, and then there's people that are like more into the military simulation where there's two sides and they kind of dress accordingly. So you have one side that, for example, I've seen some like Iraq War ones and Afghanistan ones. You have one side wearing American and Canadian and Australian uniforms from the era, and then one side dressed up as the Taliban. Or you guys fight the Taliban, right? Not,
Taliban and Al Qaeda, yeah.
Al Qaeda, yeah. So they'll dress those guys like in the the scarves and the
and with the odd Chechenin.
Yeah, and they'll have AKs and they'll be equipped with like chest rigs and stuff. It's pretty cool. I'm more into that sort of thing.
So more the historical thing, if anything. So.
Yeah, mostly like Vietnam. That's my favorite one.
Yeah. Outstanding, yes. Please, ladies and gentlemen, you have any questions for myself or Fred, feel free to ask. Please keep them clean. Don't care if you use an F-bomb or a C-bomb or whatever bomb. Just keep it clean and keep it sane. Because if we hear anything rude or belligerent or racist or prejudicial, I'll ban you. That's simple. So feel free, folks. Ask us anything you'd like to know, by all means. So got a real shit show going on here in the north too. Bill C7. I mentioned that earlier to you.
Yep, I'm somewhat aware of it.
Basically, like a euthanasia thing, but because of the political strife and everything that's going on now with the beer bug and people losing their jobs and opioid addictions, it's like they want to pass a bill to hurry up and say, well, if you want to commit suicide, then we'll get doctors to help you. What kind of encouragement is that to overcome and adapt things? Now, do they have that kind of legislation during the Dirty 30s? when the economic depression hit the world.
Yeah, I don't think that happened.
Like that's just,
I think people just grew a pair of nutsacks and then just went out and did their thing. People were tougher back then.
Well, a little more resilience. Question for you there, Frederick. Yes. Gilbert wants to know, where are you from?
Me? I'm from America, but my family's from Australia and New Zealand. So, yeah. Cheers.
So he's from Oceania.
Oceania,
Gil. Oceania. Yes.
Yeah.
1984 is Oceania.
Yeah. It's the entire country, right? Because it's got America and Britain and South America, I guess. Yeah. But I guess it's Australasia too, technically. Like that's another region.
I guess if you want to look at a dictionary in an atlas, you'd see that Australasia, whatever.
Yeah, there's a few words for it.
Yeah.
New Zealand isn't technically on the Australian continent. It's on its own thing. It's like just a volcano, basically.
Right on. Yeah. Pros and cons of Canadian politics. Short lesson there. Yes, Mark, you're absolutely right. It is a short lesson.
I barely understand what's happening in Canada. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I just kind of see like transgender looking prime minister say some crazy stuff like men can be women and we really shouldn't say people kind here because that's not cool. Okay. I'm like barely paying attention to Canada. No offense to Canada, but
Oh no! Our prime minister's a moron. It's that simple. He's a moron. I'm sure.
Like paying attention to Joe Biden, it's a little bit boring.
What? Joe Biden? Oh, it looks like you got a woohoo Aussie shout out.
How's it going, Luke?
Oh yeah, how you doing, Lukey?
Yeah, he's a good lad of mine. Good kid. He's got a good YouTube. Go give him a subscribe. He does a lot of really good tutorials on like uniform equipment and that sort of thing from historical stuff. He's got some actually. I think he just got like a World War I uniform. I don't know if he's got a video on it yet, but it was pretty cool.
Full wool?
Yeah, I think it was like a French uniform. He might write in the comments. I know he's got a couple of them. Yeah.
Well, feel free, Luke, to ask any questions you'd like. So, Jill asked, what's the conversation about? Basically, just this week's events, Jill, in politics. I'm sure, Jill, you understand the whole C7 thing that was just they try to pass, or it's being tabled as we speak. So,
thing is, I haven't really seen a great argument for euthanasia yet. Like, I've seen people talk about it and like say it's okay or whatever, but it's like I haven't really seen a rational argument for it. The
only thing rational I can say about it is that if someone's terminal, like my mother, for example, she was terminal, she was ill, the cancer got her. My aunt, my uncle, the same.
Yeah, but if you're just depressed, that's not a good enough reason.
No, there's help out there to help you. You can snap out of it. I did.
Yeah.
Right. And just and when I had my my issues, thoughts go into your head all the time. You want to hurt yourself, and that's where it's scary. And you forget that there's people relying on you, regardless of how bad things get. I thought of my wife, I thought of my sisters, and I thought of my dad, and I thought of my mom too, because she was still alive at the time. So, if I checked out, what would happen? The government would save some money from paying me a pension every month. But really, and it's just a sad reality we're starting to live in too. So
I went to I don't know if I talked about it on my show, but I went to therapy about I want to say 3 years ago for a similar situation, and I'm really glad I did because I don't know if I would have hurt myself, but it just cleared up a lot of the mental confusion I had. And if you need to, I really like if people need to get help, they really should. So.
That's true. And I'll make a point of saying that too, Fred. On this show here, if you have any questions, any concerns, if you need help, talk to somebody. Talk to me if you want to. I'll see what I can do to help you. But you're willing to help yourself too. That's where it starts. Get rid of the stigma. Get rid of this garbage of, oh, you're not a man if you do this. You're not a woman if you do that. No, it's about being an adult and doing the right thing. It has nothing to do with your gender, nothing to do with your job. It's you as the individual. If you're hurting, please talk to somebody. Honestly, don't rely on government to help you. Don't rely on a handout. Rely on your own morals. And if you're a good person, you've got nothing to worry about. Really, there's nothing wrong with reaching out and talking to somebody about what's going on inside your noggin. The more and more people we have doing that, I think the easier it's going to get. It's that simple. Lukey's History of Music says again, hey mates, you guys are legends. Love watching your stuff. Cheers. I'll stay tuned. Well, thank you, Lukey. I'm glad you subscribed. I'm glad you like Fred's show as well.
Yeah, I actually met him. I think it was through YouTube actually. Yeah, his channel's awesome. I love it. He's doing a lot of the gel blaster type things right now because Australia doesn't have airsoft, but they found a way around it. So it's kind of the same thing as far as I know. I've actually shot a gel blaster gun before. It's pretty cool, but I prefer airsoft. They shoot faster and they're a little bit more accurate. But yeah.
Well, I prefer the real thing.
Yeah,
I like the 223 and the 308 and the 556 and
I do
762.
I love 726 too.
I like the ones that go bang and reach out and touch somebody.
Yeah, but when you want to shoot your friends, you can't.
Well, I'm not saying shoot my friends. I've actually been shot with a pellet gun, and it really sucks.
Pellet guns hurt, but airsoft not too bad.
Just glorified BBs, if anything, right? Yeah.
I think airsoft, the most it hurts is like a bee sting, but that's about it. It doesn't get much worse.
I think I could manage. Yeah.
Yeah.
The pellet's like a bee sting on steroids.
Yeah, that's not too fun. Like when we were little kids.
If your bee is about this big.
Yeah. When we were younger kids, right? Me and my cousins, we'd have BB guns. So we'd shoot each other with those, legs down basically, and we just wear jeans and whatnot. Yeah, that was not a smart idea. You'd have a welt for a week. Yeah, I don't recommend it. So airsoft was a lot more safe when our parents were like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do that.
True enough.
Sounds dumb.
Gil says, I agree that when terminators there with no chance of recovery, then yes, I would agree to save them. Well, in regards to ending someone's life, mercy. I can understand mercy killing. Without trying to dress it up, mercy killing, I can understand that. I'm not saying shoot your loved one like a horse, like in the old Western movies, but it's if someone's lying there and they're suffering, if they're a vegetable, if they're in that kind of status, it is tough. But, and this is from my personal experience, but you want to end the suffering. There are certain branches of the Christian faith that are dead against it. They'd rather let someone suffer. Well, what's that going to do? How is prolonged suffering going to help anybody, honestly? But in here, yeah, I know, trust me, you do suffer, you do feel. There's still moments in my life where I still think about shit. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful to the universe. I'm thankful for my wife and the people around me that have washed my six, covered my ass, and helped me when I needed it. And there is stigma out there. There are people out there that sit there, oh, suck it up still. Oh, it's just all in your head. Well, exactly. It's in your head. You want to get rid of it. You want to control it, right? You just can't shut your blinders off and carry on. It doesn't work that way anymore because people carry this stuff for a long time. And it's surprisingly how you can get triggered. And I mean, really triggered, not the SJW triggered. Oh, I'm offended. I mean, triggered where you hear a loud bang, or a car door slam, or you hear something go off. It could be a backfire. It could be firecrackers. Sometimes people get in that mode and that shit's real. And you got to respect it. You got to understand it and be there to help if someone needs it. And don't be afraid to offer assistance if someone you think needs it. Okay? So, Lookie's History of Music again. It's like the whole Meghan Markle thing. She cannot get help for her mental health, yet she wants the eyes of the world in her. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's. We can't help this. We're both part of the Commonwealth. We come from that background. We understand royalty, and we understand being born in that kind of lifestyle. Okay. And not to mention marrying into that lifestyle too. So, Megan, get a goddamn grip.
You need help, Megan? You need a psychiatrist? Something? Therapist? I don't know.
Well, considering that both those boys received such a great inheritance in Diana's passing, They're looked after all their lives, regardless whether the Royals or they maintain with the Spencer family. Okay, those boys are now men. They're looked after all their lives. I think Harry has something like $16 million to his name,
I think 20 million.
something like that. Anyway, he's a millionaire. He
Yeah.
can afford it. The interest could help pay his security if he needed it. If he needed a private security debt in Canada or the United States, he could afford it. Don't tell me he can't. Same as Megan. How much money did she make being on Suits?
Suits.
Honestly,
Talk about an
Suits.
irrelevant show, but still.
Like that's such a Suits.
Time to watch. I don't think I've ever heard like any grown ass adult say, "Time to go watch Suits." Like I want to watch that show so bad. I can't.
It's like saying the name Karen or Carl with a K all the time, right?
Yeah.
Karen and Carl's on. Oh fuck!
You
Again.
know, we're going to talk about this anyway, so I'm glad Luke brought it up.
Yeah.
But okay, I just have to say, Meghan Markle. Well, actually, the villain here is not. Ben Shapiro was talking about this, and it was hilarious. He goes, the villain here is not Meghan Markle. It's Harry, and I'm not a royal expert or really care because, I mean, these people aren't relevant. They have no real power. It's just like it's an old institution.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not going to really exist at some point. Like it's probably just going to go away, realistically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's the thing about Harry, right? This is the dude that in like 2000, oh, is it like 2005? He dressed up in like a Nazi uniform on Halloween or something.
Like, something like that. Yeah.
So when I was in nappies, right, this guy was in a Nazi uniform, doing like beer pong with his mates, right? And somehow everyone has just like ignored that. And now Harry's like, I'm such a woke progressive. I'm so glad I am such a woke progressive person that really just thinks about things like climate change. And then he gets on a private jet, you know, like this dude's mad. And also he's definitely got mummy issues, and that's kind of sad because Diana passed away. But you can tell he's got mummy issues because that's the reason why he probably married Meghan, because Meghan's kind of like a mum to him. He just sits there and shuts up, and she does all the talking basically. So you know what I mean? And this is the thing. Okay, this is the thing, right? I was thinking about this last night before we were going to, not before you announced this, but I was going to talk about it on my show anyway. You can clearly tell when a man has mummy issues because they always end up mirroring like a woman that's really dominant. And I mean, do your thing, right? It's a free country. But I'm just saying, it does, I do kind of question your masculinity if your wife is basically like, shut up and like sit there, don't do anything. I'm sorry.
He does seem kind of whipped. Yeah. I would agree with that. He does seem kind of whipped very well.
Yeah.
And very, very cuckoldish, very simpish, right? Yeah. He's at her beck and call because they're very, very touchy-feely on screen and in photographs and everything. So, but what annoyed me the most was this guy was a Royal Marine. And I remember a few Remembrance Days a few years back, I had the honor of sitting with 2 Royal Marines and we were shooting the shit about Afghanistan. And you could tell just by their attitude that they've seen a hell of a lot more than the average Joe, than the average Canuck, the average American, for that matter, too. Some of their adventures and just the way they're describing their feelings in regards to engaging the enemy at this spot or that spot. And I'm really sitting, I'm listening to every word they're saying. And these guys are tough as nails, but they're not your typical, G.I. Joe doll with perfect form and great hair and great teeth. Just average Joes like you and me, but you can tell the experience, the way they're presenting it. And then we look at a guy like Harry who did it for the sake of just the royal identity. It's like, well, how much crap did you go through, Harry? Honestly.
Yeah.
To be molded and to buy this victimhood narrative. Like you don't have a hard life, Buckeye. Really. Like a guy outside looking in, I could see the pressure because you're in the public eye more so than, let's say, any politician for that matter, because you have this title and notoriety. But in the same sense, it's like, be a fucking adult, own your shit,
Prince Harry,
and tell your wife the same thing.
He should.
Right?
Okay, first off, you can also tell Meghan definitely has daddy issues too, because you can tell this. Okay, it goes both ways. You can't have the simp without the feminist with daddy issues. Both are complementary to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's over there basically just trying to be like the man in the relationship. She's trying to be all dominant and all that. you can clearly tell that she had no father that raised her right.
Mm.
You can. I think it's obvious, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't personally know these people care that much, but just from observation, it's interesting. Then they're on Oprah, right? And Oprah Winfrey, the billionaire, who's like, and then Meghan Markle's like, then they asked about how dark his skin would be, and Oprah's like, what?
But then again, there's no truth
The
to that
alarm.
too, because she never really said if it was.
We're all dead.
Well, she never really said it was Philip or Charles or anybody. It's just it was speculation to say the least,
Then Oprah
right?
Winfrey here's like, I can't believe it. I'm so
Exactly.
sorry. Meghan Markle's like, I know.
They walk away with $7 million. Oprah gets a cool $2 million to sit in her ranch and la di da. Oh, Santa Barbara. Oh, delicious. Oh, what a beautiful place. Yes, I feel so bad for you. Oh, yes. Let's walk around my acreage and maybe shoot some cattle. Yes.
Before this episode, guys, I was like, Crusty, I got a prop, and I couldn't budget for real money.
Well,
I carry cash around with me because I'm an idiot. And, I just opened up the Monopoly box, so yeah.
Wipe your eyes in the cash. Yes.
Oh no.
Exactly. Well, Tommy Gunn says regular folk get through the mean grinder, and yeah, we do. But I also like to see some of these elitists, politicians. I don't care how they got there. I don't care what they're born into. You do something stupid, you have to own it. Like, how else do you say it? I don't care if you're making $1,000 a month. I don't care if you make $1,000 a minute. You're caught saying something stupid or you do something stupid. Be an adult and own it. Honestly, like, who gives a shit? Personally, I don't think that we need another royal family to interlude on Canadian politics. I admire the traditions. I can respect some of the traditions, but I personally want to abolish the Governor General's position because of the malarkey that carried on there prior to January. I would keep the position open to an individual that would do the job to the best of his or her ability, but without all the perks, i.e., if there's appearance, i.e., if they had to go see the Queen or the new king, depending on what's going to happen in the next 10 years, okay, and do that administratively, a meager salary, if anything, but not the extravagant lifestyles that former governor generals have had the past 20 years. Our last governor general prior to Miss Payette, just before Michelle Jean, well, what was her name? It was when Adrienne Clarkson was. She was an art critic, and she lived in Hong Kong just prior to the Japanese invasion, and she fled to Canada as a child. And as far as I know, she was still getting perks from the Canadian taxpayer because she was a former governor general many moons ago. So I believe in abolishing position or cutting the salary, and also believe a 30% cut on our MPs too, because of the crisis that's going on today with Canadians, with seniors, with First Nations, with veterans especially. So I would say abolish it. Jonathan Ridgewell, thoughts on the fact that JT might actually win the next election? Well, if he does, it would be the voter base in the greater GTA and the greater Montreal area that think he's doing a wonderful job. And if he wins, well, guess what? We're still going to keep fighting the good fight. We will challenge the status quo. We will harass them with phone calls and letters, all the good, peaceful stuff. And the moment someone crosses the line, well, we'll have to see, won't we? But a good question, Jonathan. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. Jill says, hey, what are your thoughts on Canada leaving the grips of the British rule and every province become a republic? Ooh. Well, my thoughts are this simple, Jill. I believe every province should have jurisdiction when it comes to guns and gun rights. Not privileges anymore, but gun rights. Okay? And I believe in property rights. And I also, let's get rid of this cap and trade BS. Let the provinces trade as they should. It's just a matter of cutting the tape, man. It has nothing to do with Her Majesty, whatever. I don't think we need royal ascension anymore, as far as I'm concerned. We could just tell the Queen, sorry, Your Highness, but we're on our own in this one. Thanks for your concern, but that's about it. So
The Queen is
you know,
such an irrelevant position. Well, the royalty is such an irrelevant position. I really don't think they should exist anymore. You know, I
mm,
don't mind. I don't mind traditions because I am. I don't know. I love Western civilization. I love British heritage. I'm very proud of that. But it's like they don't do anything realistically. Like, why are we giving them money? And then you also got like Andrew, who's a pedophile, and Charles, who's a really dodgy dude. And it's like we really shouldn't be financing these people. They're disgusting. You know. I mean, I just don't trust them. I think after the Queen, it should just go away. Really, like they don't need it
mm.
anymore. They got plenty of money. The family can just go off and do their thing. They can still live there, fine, but they don't need taxpayer dollars anymore. They don't need money from Commonwealth people.
Yeah,
You know.
I would say cut off the $37 million that Canada gives every year.
Yeah. Same with all the other colonies. I guess if they're still a British overseas territory, like the Falklands, I guess they would still have to pay. But everyone else, no, leave the Commonwealth alone. You know, we don't.
I could see the protectorates being looked after. Yeah, like say like the Falklands or the British Virgin Islands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like those
I can
places.
see that.
Those are actually still kind of like British places. You know, the people there are
Mhm.
very British. At least
Yeah,
what my parents
no
were.
doubt.
But anyway, whatever.
Tommy Gunn. Yeah, Tommy, can you send me an email on that if you can, please? That'd be appreciated. Yeah, I heard some rumblings about that today. Gil asks again, how about divvying up lands to all Canadians? Well, technically speaking, they do belong to all Canadians. It's just a matter of what's going to be allowed to be settled, what's allowed to hunt on, what you're allowed to use. But I agree with that. Divide it all up between Canadians. And I would say all these crown lands that have great hunting grounds, that have great water, give it the First Nations. Really, really, does Algonquin Park have to be as big as it should be? Does Banff have to be as big as it should be? There's lots to see there, but I can guarantee through some of the elders that I've spoken to, they'd probably do a better job looking after it. And not because they're First Nations, because it's almost because they have a sixth sense of understanding the land, as we all should, because we all come from the land, technically speaking. Doesn't matter if you're European, doesn't matter if you're from Asia, we all come from the land, just like every First Nation member I've personally talked to about this subject, right?
I think the castles and all that stuff should be preserved and whatnot and turned into museums and you know.
Oh yes, all the royalty, like by all means, preserve it, but out of the royals' pockets, and let's say private donors,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like, oh,
Or
look at the castles in Germany, for God's sakes,
I don't
beautiful,
mind. Yeah,
you
I
know.
went to a few. They're really nice. Like the one in Bavaria,
Mm,
in I think it is right outside of what is that city? Munich. Yeah, Munich.
mhm.
There's some really nice castles there. The ones in Canada, because I know the Royals have a palace in what is it, Ontario, right?
Well, there's a place called Casa Loma that the Queen has stayed at, but it's not. I don't think it was actually meant for Her Majesty. I think it was just meant for the guy that built it was just built a castle. It's you've seen it in TV movies. It's been in
No, but the
other
Royals
movies.
do have a home like in Canada though.
That's a good question. I'm not sure where the
No,
residence would
I'm
be.
pretty sure they at least they used to at one point
Hmm.
because they almost left Britain in World War II to live there.
Oh, yeah, of course, the flea, right?
It
Because the
didn't,
Dutch
but
royal
almost.
family sent their kids to the Dutch royalty sent their kids to Canada,
Yeah,
and they stayed in Ottawa during World War II. And what they did was that's why Ottawa has a tulip festival every spring because the Dutch sent tulips every year as gratitude for what they did, that kind of thing. So
very lovely.
that's they are pretty, yes. When they blossom, it looks pretty good, I must say.
I was going to
Yeah,
say the Dutch are lovely people, very nice people, but yeah,
yes, yes. I get along with the Dutch. I
yeah.
got no issues with the Dutch. They're good. Yeah. I've had some great conversations with guys in Kandahar from Holland, right? So yes, Jill, I'm glad you agree because I'm sick and tired of all this racial divide and this BS that our so-called overseers are promoting. I have nothing against First Nations. I have nothing against Black Canadians. Nothing. I'm not racist whatsoever. But what annoys me the most is that I'm in a situation where I have to keep explaining that to people because people are constantly being turned on and off every time I watch the boob tube about someone screaming racism. And I just find it really, really rich when you have grown adults in their 30s and 40s who are making 6, 7 figures a year, and they're screaming patriarchy or misogyny or racism or sexism. Really? So
Meghan Markle, who's 20% black. Oh no! Oh, so much racism. Ah, I can't help. It's so bad.
I'm so oppressed. Help me. I'm oppressed. Help me.
That's gonna get taken out of context so bad.
I would take a Monty Python quote.
10 years from now, I'm gonna get like an email like, "Is this you saying something negative?"
Cancel you, just like Pepe Le Pew.
I don't.
You and the Pew are gone.
Do it.
Jonathan Ridgewell, if you don't mind, can you speak your military background a bit? What would you like to know, Jonathan? Regular Army from 1998 to January, from February 98. I'm sorry, January 1998 to February of 2018. I did 20 years in the Canadian Army. I served with 1 RCR at Petawawa, Ontario. I did numerous taskings in the East Coast, did some tasking in the United States, did a couple of tours in Afghanistan, did a trip to France. There back in 2000. We brought home the unknown soldier from Vimy Ridge. That was a thrilling experience. A little bit of Canadian history there, Commonwealth history too, for that matter. After that, after my last tour, I worked a lot in transport. I was a transport NCO, made sure the vehicles were good to go. I have a background in radios. I worked in SIGS platoon. I carried a radio on my back with the omelet and my last roto. We were saturated with the Kandak. So basically, we saw a lot of combat, a lot of missions, a lot of good missions, a lot of dirty missions, hot missions, terrible missions, you name it. I lost a couple of lads, a couple of friends of mine, what have you. There's still some memories that linger and haunt me today, but that's life. Took a job out west here in Alberta in 2008, became part of a unit called CMTC. We were in a platoon / company that dressed up like the Taliban and created scenarios for the training audience. So we'd make fake bombs, fake artillery pieces, grow our beards out.
Is that like the fake American unit that does the same thing, basically? Mm-hmm. Yeah, those guys are cool.
Yeah, we work with them at Fort Irwin in California. They're a great bunch of guys.
Yeah, don't they dress up in like Vietnam uniforms and stuff like that?
Everything. It depends on the scenario. It depends on the training audience. We
guys
concentrated in Afghanistan, so we did that.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. And then, without getting too personal, my issues began to resurface. But I met a wonderful lady, married her. I met her in 2012. Then I married her in 2013, and I've been out of the military for the better part of 3 years now, and doing this podcast, doing the live stream. I'm qualified in security. I'm qualified in some parts of carpentry. I'm qualified with online work, what have you. But right now, I want to make my podcast a full-time position. I've been laid off because of COVID. I've been laid off because of my PTSD. The thing is, it gets hard to prove in a court of law, especially when they let you go before the 3-month probation mark. So there's been issues there. But that's basically my military background. 20 years served, and I left as the rank of sergeant. So I was offered my warrants course, didn't want it. I didn't want some young lieutenant telling me how to dig a trench, because I probably would have buried the poor little bastard. So, oh, sergeant, you got to dig it this way. Really? So, Jonathan Winslow, yes, not a problem, Jonathan. Anytime. I became a Patricia too, so I'm a Royal and Patricia. I just didn't have a home unit to call as a Patricia because I was working at this school as an instructor. I was one of those guys, drill can in your face, cursing the kids out, that kind of thing. So
you can't do that anymore, can you?
You can. It all depends what you say and how you say it.
I'm pretty sure they banned that in the U.S. Marines, believe it or not.
Oh, then they're not Marines anymore.
I know. Like, you're supposed to drink piss and get yelled at. That's your job. Like,
Well, drink piss behind closed doors is what I
Yes, of course.
understood.
When the according to my boss, when the
Or just use sour apple juice.
yeah, when the I think because they don't have sergeants in the Marine Corps, they have drill instructors because it's not sergeants, the sergeants of the army, and he was like, yeah, we do all kinds of stuff when the instructors weren't looking. I'm like, that's awesome. They can't hit you anymore too in the Marines.
Well, we never got hit when I went through basic. We got shoved around.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore too.
Well, that's the thing. It was kind of frowned upon later on. But
Yeah.
I remember we'd sit after graduation and have some beers with our instructors, and they'd tell us stories about how they get just cold cocked in the jaw, smacked upside the head, like you're at the supper table. Your lady would just shut up, just like that, like just stupid things like that. To me, that doesn't make you a dedicated soldier. It makes you someone's dog.
Yeah,
And
true. I think like jabbing. I'm not against like jabbing and stuff because like I don't know. They did they had cadets at my school. I never did it, but they wouldn't like slap you or anything like that. But if you were like not going fast enough, the instructor would just kind of like jab you a little bit. You know,
yeah.
I'm not against that. He was a cool dude actually. I like that guy a lot.
Yeah, sometimes we had that too. I never promoted that though, because if there was a guy falling out of my PT, I just go back, would pick him up,
Yeah,
right? And you slow down. You go as you go as your slowest guy. If you think that someone's overweight and they're not pulling their weight, and you look back and they're sitting there and they're huffing through their ass. Well, obviously they're working. You can't deny that,
yeah.
right? But I've dealt with officers too that think, well, this is the PT standard I want. Okay, I've had to politely mention to some lieutenants, it's like, well, sir, if you want the PT that standard, then I suggest you put together a training plan to do that, so you can get your guys up to standard. If it takes you a couple of weeks, so be it. It takes you a couple of months, well, so be it, right? You want people to run to your standard, then you show them how it's done, right? Gone are the days where you just crack the whip, do as I say, not as I do. Okay, but when you keep putting a fork into a socket and don't expect a shock, well, how else do you say it? So, you know, let's see. DP1 with Patricia's and M2 or CR. Poor guy. That's all right. Yeah. Always following the QRNOs. Yes, I understand, Tommy, but sometimes QRNOs just don't understand reality, right? Not every law is meant to be suggested. Sometimes when you deal with junior officers, they tend to think because they have some RMC time or a piece of paper, oh, I have a degree. They have to understand humility too, right? NCOs had to do it. Senior NCOs have to do it. They're no different, right? So, not to contradict you, you're right. QRNOs are an asset. They are the fundamental law. You look back and you see a soldier struggling. That doesn't mean he's lazy. It means he's struggling. Help him out. And there were situations I was in where I didn't get that. I had a few NCOs that ride my ass because I was a little heavier here or a little slower there. Oh, fucking get up to the front, get up to the front. And it's like, well, how's that going to be eventful? I'm going to just fall back again. And then what? You turn this morning PT session into a chore. And then we all know what chores do to you. They drive you nuts. The job doesn't become fun anymore. It becomes a chore. It's like washing dishes, picking up dog poop. Fucking mundane. So, Fred, care to add?
No, I mean I'm not in the military, but I'm in the professional world. I do construction.
Mhm.
I think people have a degree on paper. It's a lot different than in real life. Like I know a lot of guys who they've gone through trade school like myself, or like trade college and university rather, and they're not the same. Like you kind of got to have the experience of doing stuff hands on. Really, that's what gives you respect. And the best workers I know, the best professionals I know, they've done time in the field to do stuff like
Yeah.
with
Well, you get your journeyman certification through the state, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
basically
get yours through the state of Massachusetts saying this certifies that Fred Stockman is qualified this, right?
EPA or that's what
Yeah,
I
whatever the state standard is.
yeah
And then you can go and work here, work there, and then the more your journeyman rises up, the more pay you'll get. And then once you're fully qualified, hello, I'm a full-fledged carpenter, then you can start contracting on your own. That's great.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Not really like that because HVAC doesn't. I'm sure there's got to be one HVAC guy in the comments somewhere, but at least in America, it's not really like, unless if you're in the union, there's no like journeyman, there's no apprentice. It's just like you go and I'm already fully licensed in HVAC, but I don't have the hours like of experience. I've only done it in the field for about a year now, like full time. So yeah. In terms of military stuff, like I actually got my grandfather some of his trifold flag. Got this funeral actually. Right here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right on.
There was a flag that was falling apart, so I just gave it a little trifold. I found it as
right on.
5 years ago, I think 4 or 5 years ago.
Put that in a frame.
Yeah, I want to get like a little one. I want to make a little one.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah, put that in a little frame.
I've also got some 7.62 rounds I put on a chain for a little piece of string here. But those are from, he'd shot those and I found them in like a little container or something, so I put them on a little string. Yeah.
Well, that works. Yeah. Tasanico asks, is that a question or is that a statement? After Syria and Iran, which country would next on the invade and destroy policy? Well, in Canada, I personally don't believe we need to invade and destroy anybody, but I would like to have the robust military to defend our shores if need be. Hint. Fred, what do you think about that?
What country is going to get invaded next? Which one goes off the gold standard, you guys know? Military-industrial complex, mate. You know?
Well, yeah, that too, yeah.
Well, whichever
the big business aspect has to have a piece of it, right?
Yeah, or like, okay, I'm like a pseudo conspiracy theorist. Like I got some stuff I'm into, right? But there is a pattern where like you have countries that go off like the gold standard or the petrodollar. They always seem to get invaded, like Libya or Syria or Iraq. Like they all kind of have that in common. I'm just saying, like you don't have to be nuts about that stuff. You know, it's pretty simple. Right?
Fair enough.
I mean,
well, let's keep wits about you. I just, as a Canadian, and if I do get elected for my party and represent my party, I'm not going to promote that we invade or conquer anybody. We have to look after what we have to look after first. That means our three coasts, that's Pacific, Atlantic, and the Arctic, and do it well, do it efficiently, make sure that our things are up to par and robust. I would also get rid of our procurement board too. So Joe Gilbert says it also centers, reference the PT comment. Yeah, true. True. You don't want to center your guys there all the time. If you have a soldier that's a thud fuck, is a moron, does stupid things over and over again, well, he or she is setting themselves in, right? But if someone's having trouble with something, like you're constantly told in battle school, be a team, you're a team, you're a team. Great, be a team. Show the weaker guy that too. Let him be part of the team. Just because he doesn't play hockey as well as you, or hit a baseball as fast as you, or run as fast as you, he's not worthless. He's there too. He earned a spot just like you did. Right? So Tommy Gunn hires professional soldiers. USA targets poor minorities and putting them through the meat grinder, hoping to survive their tours. I don't know, Tommy. I might beg to differ on that. Some of the Americans I've talked to, both of our countries have shared a racial divide one way or the other, but not to disenfranchise what you're saying, Tommy, but based on my personal experience, I've seen some American officers really take the initiative, and they were minorities. One guy in particular was about 6'2". He looked like Tiny Lister, but he didn't have that lazy eye. If I was going to compare him to somebody, and I think we called him Brooksy. We only called him captain around our senior staff. They like being called Brooksy. And I did a lot of radio work for him, so he was pretty cool. And his subordinates were fucking bang on. They're great guys. So,
is it like a racial divide, like officers, like not enough black officers and that sort of thing?
Racial divide as in what units have the abundance of so-and-so people.
Oh,
They,
okay. Yeah. That
like, let's say
pretty
you had platoon 2, and 2 platoon end up being Hispanic, and 1 platoon was all white, and let's say 3 platoon would be all Asian and everything else kind of thing, rather than just mixing them all up.
I
Right?
mean, here's the thing though. The American military is set up a lot different than the Canadian military in terms of
Yeah.
like where people are, because and same with the British military too. It's usually like if you're in the National Guard in the US, I was going to sign up about a year ago, but I chose not to. I guess I'm kind of glad now because Joe Biden's president. But anyway, the basically like when you sign up for the National Guard, you're usually like with people from your area. So, for example, like if you're from the South, there's probably going to be a lot more black people in your unit. It's just a fact. There's a lot more black people in the South than there is in the North. So if you're from like up where I live, it's probably going to be like 90-something% white people. I'm just being realistic here. I mean, that's just how it is. Like each couple states have like their own National Guard unit that like all kind of go over together if they go over to like Afghanistan or Iraq or whatnot. So I'm that's just how it is. So if you're gonna have units in the National Guard at least are usually where you're from. So in terms of like the guys in like airborne or 25th Infantry, like those guys, kind of the big name ones, I don't know how to. I don't really know much about those units, to be quite honest.
Understood.
But there is, like in Vietnam, there was a big issue where there was a lot of blacks actually being like set to the front line at one point, kind of as like cannon fodder in a way. It's really real shame, but that's been against the rules in the military for 50 plus years now. They haven't been doing that. They haven't been pulling moves like that since the early 60s. So
Pretty shitty nonetheless. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you hear and see, please consider donating too. Go to crustycanuck.ca. You can click on my PayPal link or my Buy Me a Coffee link, or you can subscribe to the membership page on YouTube. Don't forget to click the super sticker application. Click the little dollar sign and donate what you can. Every little bit helps. Like I said, I want to make this a full-time commitment via the podcast and do my live streams every week for my listeners and viewers such as yourself out there. And at 7:00 tonight, I put up a new episode of the podcast. I will be discussing the third wave preparations and how our government says we don't need no stinking budget. And the government sponsored suicide bill, C7. So please tune into that at 7:00 Mountain Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And to my Australian viewers out there, if you're still there, I think probably about 9:00 or 10:00 in the morning, your time. So keep that in mind.
Did you see that video of that Australian guy being asked by Lauren Southern or what he thinks about Justin Trudeau?
Yes, I did.
He's like, God, F yourself. It was like, oh, it was awesome.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah.
That is the most Australian move ever.
Yeah.
The only thing he didn't use was the C.
Yeah, I agree, Tommy. I've met some Rangers too. And yeah. Well, it's just how you are as a person, man. Doesn't matter what uniform you're in, doesn't matter what country you're from. It's just how you are as an adult. Doesn't matter if you're a man or woman. It's how you are as a person, right? Like when I worked down in the States on a couple exercises, I used to get a lot of stupid questions about Canada, of course, the weather. Oh, it must be cold up there. I said, well, in the wintertime, yeah. Where I grew up, and ironically enough, half the people asked me those questions, they were either from upstate New York or from Maine, right? Oh, it must be cold up there. Like, fuck, it's you guys are in the same, you're on the same line of longitude, for God's sake. You get the same weather.
My boss, there was a guy that was in his unit and he was telling me about this, and he was from like upstate New York, and they were joking. There was these two guys from New York, right? One was from upstate, one's from like New York City. When they found out that the guy was from upstate New York, they were like, "You ain't from New York, bitch. You're from Canada." And
yeah. Well, we are here. Our winter lasts a bit longer than where it did when I was growing up. Maybe about a month tops, but we have some nice dry summers here too. I actually the last time I went home when I was flying back, I sat and had a beer, and I was sitting in the lounge, and a lady talked to me. She was from New York City. I think she was from Rochester. New York, yeah, New York, Rochester, New York State. And she was asking me, "Oh, where are you from?" In Alberta. Where's Alberta? I never heard of Alberta before. And it's like, well, just look at Montana and look north.
God damn it. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed. I mean, I know not every American is like that, but
Oh no, it's
like I found it funny. My cousins came over here from New Zealand, and they were like, "Oh, where you from?" And they're like, New Zealand," and they're like, "Where's New Zealand?" It's like, mate, it's an island. It's a giant island in the South Pacific. Like you can't miss it, bro. I don't know. It's
just look at the Antarctic and just kind of pan your head up. Oh, there it is.
Or look at Australia, and then like just
Look
look a
right.
little bit to the right of it.
There you go.
Unless if it's cut off the map entirely, which
Well, that's about a 2-week swim, isn't it? Roughly.
something like that.
Yeah. So if you can stand the Makos, if you can stand the Makos and the whales, knock yourself out.
Great white sharks.
I think yeah, those two. Just wear a cage. You'd be good. Yeah, cage and some extra.
Go follow on Rodney Fox.
Like I said to you, ladies and gentlemen, if you feel like inquiring about the Veterans Coalition Party, there's rumors of an election coming up. So please inquire with the Veterans Coalition Party at the bottom of your screen. Look at our manifest. Look what we stand for. We stand for fairness, proper equality, truth, duty, and honor, and basically owning our own crap. Responsible government's where it's at this time and age, ladies and gentlemen. So please look at the Veterans Coalition Party today. Become a member. Donate if you want to. We're looking for people in a lot of seats in Ontario, especially La Belle Province, Quebec, and on the East Coast. So please inquire with the Veterans Coalition Party today. So, and like I say, if you like and hear what you see, please consider donating as well. I'd like to make this a full-time job. I'd like to remind all my viewers too that I'll be doing an episode debut at 7 p.m. this evening, 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll be discussing the whole third wave preparation, the whole budget balance BS, and of course, the Liberal government's tabling of Bill C7, the government-assisted suicide. Please tune into that too.
Hey, can you play that video on this that I sent you?
I don't think I can. I'll try it out here. Oh, I wonder if I can. Just let me give it a shot here if I can or not. Let's see here. I'll see what I can do. Yeah, I'll try to cue that up if I can.
Yeah, because I think it's worth seeing. Yeah, those of you who don't know, Cauldron Pool, they're a pretty good YouTube channel too. If you're a little more on the religious conservative side of things, pretty interesting stuff. They actually made that video from a while back. I'm pretty sure most of you guys know. It's actually got like millions of views. It was shared by Donald Trump. It's the one with all the Democrats saying pretty nasty things about Republicans and like, we're going to beat you up, like punch a fascist, punch a Nazi, like all that sort of thing. And not to bomb the stream. I don't know if they censor those words on YouTube still, but yeah, that was one of their videos. It's pretty famous. So they do some good work over there. I know some of the writers, very nice people.
Let's see here. I don't know if I can create a banner or not. Yeah, I don't know if I can put it on a banner. Share this. Oh yeah, okay. My computer's too small.
Yeah, of course it is. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's too small, Johnny. Of course it is. Yeah, too small, mate. Yeah, okay. Smart ass. All right.
Never mind.
Okay.
Go look up though. Maybe you can put it in the link.
Probably could. Maybe I'll put that in the banners. I'll do that too. It's the euthanasia one you sent me, right?
Yeah, I think it's worth watching. It's good arguments against it at least. That's why I say I've yet to hear like a decent argument against euthanasia. I think the only real one is like if you're really gonna die like soon and you're just suffering, then fine. But for people that are depressed, you're not mentally in a good state, and from experience, you make stupid decisions out of like.
Oh, it won't fit here either, too, man. Sorry.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but either way, it really should be. I think it really should be frowned upon. It's not something that I support. I don't think it's right. From if you're a more religious person, you know, it's not. It's very. God doesn't want you to do that. But outside of like that, I just think it's not. I just don't think it's the right decision if you're in the state of, especially if you're mentally ill at the moment, like you have.
No, like
severe
that's
depression.
it. Yeah, don't check out because
No.
not to sound cliche, but when you listen to the song by REM, Everybody Hurts, there's a lot of truth to that tune. And not because they were a great band, whatever. There's a lot of truth to that tune. And we actually look at the imagery of that video where you see the old guy sitting there in his car and he's just lost. But then you see why he's lost, because he lost his wife. But she's basically sitting there showing him that everything's going to be okay. And little things like that, they mean so much to people. And people forget this. And what gets me is the arrogance of any government official that thinks, okay, well, we'll have assisted suicide because you don't feel good. I can understand doctor-assisted suicide if you're terminal, if you're a vegetable, if you're sitting in a wheelchair like this and you have to be spoon-fed all the time. Okay, what kind of existence like that for somebody? Would you feel better letting your loved one go through that existence? Like I remember writing down a set of instructions for my family before my last tour. And I said to my mother and father, if this happens to me, i.e., I become a vegetable, and there's no chance of me snapping out of it, none whatsoever, cease life support. That's no way to live. That's no way to live. Like, how am I going to experience the love of my life if I'm like this? And I can't communicate. I can't show her anything. I can't say anything. I can maybe blink. But then you become that Star Trek character, Christopher Pike from the old series with a little beepy light. That's it. Just being moved around and not having a conversation, not enjoying anything because you can't take part in it because your body can't do it for you anymore. That I would justify that kind of euthanasia, that suicide. I'd leave kids alone. But then again, I've never seen a child suffer from leukemia, but I hear it's nasty. I hear it's terrible for these parents. I hear it's just miserable for these parents. And I don't want to see that pain on a kid. I don't want to see that pain on anybody, for example. But when any government official sits there and says, okay, we'll pass this legislation and we'll rush it through the Commons or rush it through the Senate or rush it through Congress.
Rushing anything is a bad decision.
Well, that's the thing. Why are you doing that? How are you going to help?
Something that's could, depending on if they're depressed or mentally ill, it's a really brash decision at that point. Mm-hmm. Whether you like it or not, I'm sorry, you're not in a mentally stable position if you are severely depressed.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not bashing those people. They need help. They need all the love in the world. Yeah. They need all the assistance they can. And just something I was thinking about. I know a lot of veterans. I know a lot of guys that, did some really hard things in life. They've seen a lot of bad things happen, like overdoses, like firemen and police officers. They've seen just terrible things happen. Call your mate once in a while if they were in any of those careers, because I'm sure they, it means a lot to them when you send them a text or give them a call, mm-hmm. because it is so helpful to them. And I know from personal experience, I know a lot of these guys, they really do need it. Yeah. So it's something I'd recommend it. Do it.
Well, buddy check. That's the thing. Do a buddy check, everybody.
Yeah, because they could really be in a bad circumstance, and you could really help them out.
Big time. Yeah. So please feel free, folks. Ask us anything you want to know. Just keep it somewhat clean. We don't care if you drop an F-bomb or a C-bomb or whatever T-bomb you want to. We don't mind. Just don't be, how do you say, prejudicial or racial, bigoted. Well, you want to be racist with me? Well, I'll just ban you. That's simple. I have no tolerance for that whatsoever. But please feel free to ask myself for any questions. Like I say, if you want to donate, please donate at crustycanuck.ca. You can find me on PayPal and find me in the Buy Me a Coffee application. And if you liked my YouTube viewers, please click the join. Become a member of the page today for $1.99. You get yourself a proper little sticker right beside your name there every time I go live. and plus proper accolades. So I'll literally say your name and I'll give you an applause, an actual round of applause for that $1.99 contribution. More perks there too. For $4.99 a month, you get to see me, my live streams, and you might win a prize or two. Free t-shirt, free mug, who knows? Depends what I have to give to you. So please consider joining the Crusty Canuck YouTube page and donating if you can at crustycanuck.ca. So we had about 10 viewers there before, Fred. Now we're down to 3. I guess they don't like my ranting.
Ouch.
Oh, well, now it is supper time here in beautiful Alberta. So maybe they're having dinner. I'm not sure. But feel free, folks. Please ask us anything you want to know.
You saw the video on that I did recently, right?
I think so. Was that around Rhodesia you did yours on?
Yeah. That one.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a good
Yeah,
video.
I've heard some rumblings in regards to a lot of that. Not because of Rhodesia, just the speculation that came from there. Because I know, based on the history we took back in school briefly, Rhodesia, yeah, it was a colony set up by the English entrepreneur by the name of Rhodes, okay, who took over and all this and used Africans at that time as slaves. But it became a sovereign nation where there was no apartheid. There was no checkpoints for the native blacks there. It was just people got along. It's just
It was
unfortunately,
not the same as South Africa.
yeah, it was just a decent little country in Africa that was let down by the world. You know,
It's disappointing. And Ian Smith, the leader, actually, I know a guy that met him. Believe it or not, I know a couple of roadies. Not going to name drop anyone, so don't worry. I don't want them to get like 1,000 messages like you were in Rhodesia. But yeah, there's a lot of South Africans that live in my area actually. So I know a couple. There's a few roadies here and there that are still around. They're kind of in their 60s now. Most of them, most of the at least the soldiers, the kids, like the ones that were just alive during when it existed, are only like about your age. They're not too old.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like they really got screwed by the British. They really could have been a good, solid nation, but and they weren't pulling the same crap that South Africa was doing. South Africa they were an actual apartheid state. Like there's no way around it. They were segregated.
yeah, I know they were kicked out of the Commonwealth in the early '60s because of it.
And not saying it was the thing about South Africa that I find really interesting is that it's like, sure, it was terrible, but saying that post-apartheid South Africa is somehow better is ignorant. People say like Nelson Mandela fixed that country. No, he didn't. It's gotten no better. The quality of life has dropped even more than it was beforehand. And blacks are now just killing each other at mass in the streets. Basically,
well, the rand has gone down too, hasn't it? And in value,
the economy is so bad now. It's like to buy, for example, like if as an American, a rand here is like I think 8 cents to the American dollar. It's worth nothing. And then not to mention South Africa, on top of high murder rates among blacks, there is the continued farm murders like that are constant, like happening. I feel like every week you hear about another couple that just gets brutally killed. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's both racial and economical, obviously, because there is the incentive of like, oh, we can go steal from these people, but the government doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah, because it's like an image. Tasanico says there was no tribes in South Africa when the Dutch settled it. That I remember from history class too. The Dutch settlers were, I guess, technically the first people that used the land to the best of its ability. And it wasn't until a lot of the British imperialism, up until, well, what was it? Was it 1650s, the Dutch?
Yeah, the Dutch
And
is
then
50s. Yep.
1650s? Yeah. And then it wasn't until the British started expanding, just after the Revolution, the American Revolution, they started expanding even more. And then they were at odds with the Boers. The first Boer War was, I believe, in the 1880s.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then
1890s technically, because there was 2 Boer Wars. There was one in
yeah, there's 2 of them. There was the first one, and then there was the one where Victoria was still reigning up until her death.
Yeah.
So
the Boers were tough people. I mean, Think about it up to a well-armed British military, and they almost kind of won in a way. Like they killed a lot of Brits, especially when
Oh, guerrilla tactics. Yeah, they were
yeah,
fighting for their land. They were fighting for their sovereignty, and historically, okay, that
I've no problem
happens.
with it.
So,
Not that the Boers were good people, though. They were definitely racist. Like they didn't like black people much at all.
well, there was look at those times though too.
Historic,
I think every race had its own racial tendencies. It didn't matter.
yeah,
Like I'm sure the first Zulu tribes, the first time they saw a white person, they're like, "Oh, what the
yeah,
hell are you?"
yeah. Not surprising though. Like we're kind of
You
gross.
know?
Okay.
Mhm.
But the Zulus, yeah, the Zulus are they're interesting. That movie's great too. The one from the
I
60s.
enjoyed that as a kid watching Michael Caine. Yeah.
Yeah, great
I
movie.
enjoyed that. I just I like those movies when I was a kid because you don't see the impact until it's historical drama, okay,
Yeah.
and history goes to the victors. But needless to say, it still encourages you to think for yourself.
It was a pretty balanced movie, though, I have to say.
Hmm.
Like, the Zulus weren't being like, oh man, these Zulus are so bad. They were pretty, it seemed pretty like, they did a good job, I think. And if you haven't
Yeah,
seen that, folks, go watch it. Great movie.
yeah. To watch the movie there, folks. Zulu, basically, Michael Caine. There's a couple other British actors that I just they'll tip my tongue there, but Michael Caine. Just say to yourself, Michael Caine. Just like Michael Caine with a British accent, you got the name right. Michael Caine. There you go, right?
The,
So,
it was the Welsh, I forget which division it was, but it was a Welsh infantry division. I think they were the engineer one. They were like one of the Welsh engineers or something like
yeah.
that. They're pretty awesome, pretty brave troops.
And it was something like the odds were like 3-1 or 5-1 or something like that.
Something like I think it was like 100 and something Welshmen, like 115 maybe roughly,
Yeah.
and the Zulus outnumbered them by tenfold at least.
Oh
There's
God, yeah.
so many
Just
of them, and like I think the movie probably portrayed it pretty accurately because if you read about it, they basically were just lining up and just blowing them away, like the Welsh. They were just putting them in piles. Although the Zulus did take a couple. I don't know how many
well,
Brits
they
they.
had their breech loaders against Zulu spears and shields. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Zulus
yeah,
had guns too, as I understand.
yeah, a few of them
Yeah.
they've acquired, right? But it's no different than the Americans settling the West too with their
Hmm.
raids, and but that's a whole different story as well because we've had our share of being unfair to First Nations. But I'm
Yeah.
not taking responsibility for it. I wasn't there.
No, me neither.
So it was us colonials.
I do
What?
understand at least my lineage. Like at least at some point, there was a lot of my family living in South Africa.
Mm,
I'm not sure which. I know which side of the family it is, but I don't know how far back it goes. They're not Dutch though; they're English. Because they were after. I know for a fact they were after the Dutch settled like most of the places.
mm,
But I think it was like one of my distant relatives like moved to South Africa after being in the army. Like he was
mm,
in one of those wars, right? Like I don't know, Zulu or Boer War, and he just kind of stayed there. So that's my understanding of it. But
mm.
he
Understood.
lived in Rhodesia. Well, yeah, it was Southern Rhodesia at the time,
Uh,
but then eventually became Rhodesia, and that's how any of my relatives even got there. So
uh,
yeah,
Understood. Well, feel free to ask us more questions there, folks. Don't be shy. Fred and I try to be an open book. I try to be an open book every Thursday for the fastball. Let things go, let things out in the open, keep the conversation going. I just got a dash for a couple minutes there, Fred. So if any questions come up, don't be shy. Answer them
did
if you
I
can.
even read them?
Can you see them?
Oh wait,
Can you
one's
see the questions?
there's the chat
Okay,
comments. Sweet,
the comments there. So, all
yeah.
right, just give me a sec there.
Okay, I didn't know you guys had both Facebook and YouTube on here. That's pretty cool. Sorry, folks. I can't select questions for some reason. I'm trying to do that on my end. But, yeah. Do you think the West will end up as South Africa, Rhodesia? Cynical part of me says probably. I see because I think the racial politics of what has kind of been opened up and you can't really put back into the can right now is, unfortunately, a lot of our leaders are overlords, as I put them, are really interested in egging on our country into violence, and you might eventually see two separate systems of apartheid in a way where one group of people is treated differently than another. It wouldn't surprise me. It's really regressive and it's disappointing because I think America in particular has come a long way since civil rights in the 50s and 60s. We've become a lot less racist of a country, and it would just be a real shame to see, but I wouldn't be surprised. I can see it happening in New Zealand too, unfortunately, because Jacinda Ardern is really interested in treating the Maori completely differently, and so is the Labour Party. So I worry about that stuff. I don't know about Canada, though. It doesn't seem like there's very many minorities around, so I don't know how different it would be. But who knows? I'm not in the future. But Rhodesia is disappointing because I think they had a good chance at being a stable nation, which is unfortunate.
There we go. Sorry about that. Had to let the cat back in the house and grab me another coffee. What did I miss here?
If the West will turn into South Africa or Rhodesia, and I kind of I kind of said it's possible though because the racial tensions being escalated by our overlords in a way,
I think a lot of that's being enforced by other manifestos too, not just the ANC, but a lot of resentment pre-Mandela. A lot of resentment. Heck, I remember back in the 80s, the letter campaigns we had in schools to stop apartheid, to stop that divide, to stop that racial BS. And God, I was against it. I was a little snapper at the time. So, now when you see
against it though, really.
Say again?
There aren't many people that are against that bad. It's a bad system, it's wrong. And it hurts.
Well, the thing is the investments too. A lot of people had money in South African diamonds and gold.
Yes,
there was a lot of interest.
Incentive for the colonization in the first place.
Yeah. Well, there was also other, Western militaries, or not militaries, Western influences and industries that loved getting their hands on South African gold.
Australia had a big hand in South Africa too. A lot of big companies, I understand, were really invested in that. But South Africa is a really interesting situation. I don't really know how to feel about I'm not really an Afrikaner, so I can't really speak in that regard about their situation. They got a really unfortunate problem with their community being violently attacked, and that's terrible, obviously. I'm not saying it's white genocide. I'm not someone that's going that far, but when the government is singing songs like "Kill the Boer," you got to ask yourself questions. You got to ask yourself: is this country even worth living in? So I'd be concerned if I was living.
Well, it'd be like people saying "kill the Scottish" or "kill the Irish," or "kill the English,"
because it's not just kill white people; it's kill the Boer specifically.
Yeah. So descendants thereof.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they started coming for the English South Africans next. It wouldn't surprise me. So I would just be concerned if I was Dutch person in South Africa and Afrikaner.
Well, that's the thing. I can see it being hard to leave, though, because let's say if you have a farm that's been there since the 1860s, that's something hard to let go. And it's not like you get a few dairy cow and a few fruit trees. You're growing like grapefruit. You're growing pears. You're growing a lot of things that the world market uses.
Avocados.
Yeah. we got commercials up here called avocados from Mexico.
Yeah, we got those too.
Have you seen those? Yeah. Here's a lady showing a baby how to eat avocado toast. I'm like, how the hell does a baby eat avocado toast?
It has no teeth, man.
You gotta chew it, right? It's like
I got something.
You're serving a baby avocado toast. What's the baby gonna do? I'm like, huh? What's this? Unless you turn
Japanese
to a
don't
fine
like
paste.
avocado?
I don't mind it myself. I don't eat it all the time.
No, but like,
I think it's kind of
would
bland.
babies eat it?
Well, baby shit looks like avocado mess, so it's. Ugh. But that's just it gets me. Avocados from Mexico.
The crazy thing is, like, I don't really understand the whole avocado trend. Like, I've kind of always eaten them because my mum likes them. But I find it funny, like the millennial women in America, they're always like, and I was talking about this earlier, the brekkie thing and the brekkie and avo on toast is like such an Australian thing. But then there's these American girls are like, so I just got my avo on toast. I'm having it for my brekkie. And I just want to die every time I hear that sentence.
Well, because you just hear the tone, right? I just got my avocado on toast, and I'm having it for my brekkie. You're like, reminds me of an old SNL skit, right?
Oh, yeah? Which one?
Yeah. Which one from the '90s? Oh god, it was a blonde and a redhead. They were borderline valley girls. They're like, oh my god, like that's just so sick, right? So when you hear brekkie, you're thinking brekkie. It sounds better when a Kiwi or an Aussie says brekkie,
Yeah, but not many use it. Like,
yeah.
If we're intellectually honest here, it's only just to mess with Yanks. Like, half the shit we say.
Yeah.
Honestly, some of it true. Like brekkie, fine, but I don't know.
Well, up here,
you use those words. It's just not very common. Like you're not gonna. I sure Arvo, but you're not saying these things constantly. Like,
well, I've heard it a few times from other Canucks, and yeah, you understand. Did you get your breakfast? Do you have your brekkie yet, or what? Oh, okay, no, not that. All right.
it just doesn't sound good when an American bird says it.
Yeah, brekkie. It's like saying Becky.
That's a good meme too. Have you seen that one?
Okay. No, I haven't actually.
The Becky meme was more of like your day in terms of memes. It was years. This is like 10, 15 years ago in terms of memes.
Oh god, 10, 15 years ago, I was all over the place, man.
Yeah,
I wasn't as political as I am now with the memes.
Well, no, it wasn't a political meme. It was just a meme in terms of like it was just on Facebook and stuff like that. If you look at older memes, it was the Becky memes. It was like, this is Becky, and it would always be some stupid blonde chick doing something, and I was like, man, this.
Oh, okay, I think I remember now. Yeah. And there was there was ones for Rudy as well too.
There's a few good ones.
I think there's one for Gary. Is there any Garys in the house today? For Gary,
I've seen that. Yeah. Well, something.
Hey, folks, feel free to ask us any questions.
Shut up, Kyle. Have you seen that one?
Shut up, Kyle. Yeah. Not now, Carl. Yeah, Kyle. I like those. Yeah. Well, I used the Carl with the K and the Karens, right? I just don't see the relevance in a male Karen. We just call him Carl with a K. All the Carls and Karens out there.
German Carl.
Who?
It's like a German Carl.
You could say German Carl, but I've also seen a German Carl with a C too. Jawohl. Yes.
I've never met a German Carl with a C though.
Yes. Well, he might be Swiss then, but he has a Germanic accent. Yes. Yes. He might be Swiss or Austrian. I don't know. Maybe from the Rhineland, and he speaks very good English too. Yeah. Jawohl. So
Germans, that dodgy country. You guys shouldn't exist anymore.
What, Switzerland?
No, just Germany in general. It shouldn't exist. You guys have invaded too many. You guys have started too many wars. I'm sorry.
You guys are too quiet now. What's going on?
Right now, there's secretly like, what should we do next?
Yes. Shall we go to the moon? Jawohl. The Mars, perhaps?
The moon?
Yes, the moon. Yes. Okay, folks, feel free to ask us any more questions. Right now, I'm going to be here for a little while longer before we begin to shut this down. If you like and hear what you see, please click on crustycanuck.ca. Please donate. You see my bio over there, links to my shop. And if you want to, go to customizedgirl.com. Look up Crusty Canuck. They have t-shirts, swimsuits, sweatshirts, caps, mugs, pins, all the good Crusty Canuck stuff. I even have patriotic Getch out there for the gun enthusiast husband of yours. Go for it, ladies. Bring out your inner Baywatch. Buy some Crusty Canuck swagger today. Please help me out if you can. I'd like to make this job a full-time position. So, shop at my store, listen to my show, download my podcast, and donate if you can too, please.
So Crusty Canuck is getting tactical apparel.
I do have. I'm thinking about it actually. I'm thinking about patches. I'm not really getting into so much the tactical hardware stuff, but I'm looking into patches and morale patches and stuff like that too. So the thing is, Customized Girl gave me a better deal on items. I get like $1 more, I think, per item sold. So it works out just fine. And they weren't going to censor me and send me different templates to design one item, not like some other places I inquired to.
What about those? Those jackets like the I'm sure you used them when you were in the military. The ones that are like it's almost like Under Armour, but then there's like the sleeves are normal like army.
Oh yeah, something like that. Yeah, there's tons of places that would do that too. But
those would be neat.
I'm thinking I might do that for a giveaway or a prize thing someday.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm not sure. Something like that. But for now, I just basically like say a civilian shop. I've got a baseball jacket style, say swimsuits for the ladies, kind of like Baywatch, but without all the silicone. So that kind of style. I got black, I've got white, and I've got red. So if your ladies want to check it out, and ladies watching, please consider check it out. Summertime's coming. What better way to show your support?
That'd be funny to see that at a beach, though.
Oh God, eh? Like I know that guy.
I'd be more amused. It's like, wow, that's impressive.
Where'd you get that Crusty Canuck swimsuit? I know the guy.
Yeah. Hey, I know him.
And this girl be going, "What the fuck?" Who's a strange Kiwi guy stalking me?
Hey, nice thongs over there.
Oh wow. Tasenko, thank you very much, my friend. Thank you. Much appreciated. Canada keeps going the way it is. How many years do you think we'll have a civil war if we can't fix the system prior? Well, to be honest with you, Tasenko, my prediction is this. Let's say if they call an election in June, and then come August, we have the prime minister again. I don't know. Let's just say it'd be sooner than 5 years. Because it's tough to say, because the last thing I want to see is anything violent. I don't want to see what happened down south. Fred, I'm sure you don't want to see anything up here that happened down south last summer.
Yeah, that was bad.
Terrible.
I know it wasn't combat, but when you have 17-year-old boys that are they're younger than me with AR-15s shooting people, that's not a good situation.
And whether you're defending yourself or not, someone's going to get hurt.
I wasn't crazy. Kyle Rittenhouse, like that whole thing.
Yeah.
I understand why he was there, but he shouldn't have been there. That kid. I mean, as someone who's, my grandfather was gun owner, a lot of my relatives are gun owners. You don't go into those situations. I don't care how many businesses burn down. It's really not a good situation because you're going to get in more trouble than the rioters.
If you're defending your home, or like say, if you're defending your business,
but it wasn't his business though.
Yeah, he was there protesting, but he was doing the open carry, right? So that's going to reflect on the city and the state. What state was he in when he did that again?
I think it's Wisconsin.
Okay, so that's on the state then.
That was in Kenosha.
Yeah.
But still, you got to be responsible with your guns. Realistically, I'm not someone I love weapons. I love guns. I love to shoot them. It's great. You got to be responsible with them, though.
Well, I keep mine locked up since the legislation of C-21. I let my RCMP buddy know. Yep, I have guns, right? Yep. Okay, well, they're locked up. Just to give him a heads up. So if anything comes across his desk, he might give me a heads up, and I might have a boating accident or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Or I might not. I don't know. But we'll see. But no, I agree with you there too. But to reemphasize there, DeSantico, I don't want to see it. It would be tough to say. It's a tough call. But I think we both can agree that there's going to be a lot of anger, a lot of upset, a lot of pissed off Canucks, all colors, all creeds too. So they won't be able to
voted for Justin Trudeau.
Say again?
I don't think I've ever met a Canadian that's voted for Justin Trudeau. And I know a lot of Canadians just that live in my town, that go back and forth. I've been to Canada several times. I don't know anyone. So, like, how did this dude get elected? That's what I don't understand.
It's the electoral districts, especially in Greater Toronto, right? Like you can still be a leader of a party and get no seats. You can still be a leader of a party, and then all of a sudden you can lose your seat. Ironically enough, so the deputy leader of your party could take over. It's just the way the parliamentary system works, right? The thing is, the city of Toronto, Montreal, they have the more ridings. So the first past the post issue was that if the majority gets it in those populated areas, then it's safe to assume that they've won, without really counting all the ballots Canada-wide. The last election, the popular vote went to the Conservatives because the majority of people voted Conservative. However, people in the riding of Toronto and Montreal and parts of Ottawa brought in the Liberals again. But now they keep tarnishing their own halos because of all this SNC, the We Charity scandal, sponsorships, and more. There's just the vaccine issue. It's still a big issue up here. They can't decide who to buy it from. You know, they say that, and they also say it's a contract issue too. Like in November, they're saying, "Oh, we can't talk about this because they want to jeopardize the contracts." And it's like, well, what's in these vaccines? They're going to jeopardize the contracts if you talk about them. So there was never a straight answer on that too. So it's just been a big fucking debacle. And going into debt, they keep giving money away. They keep putting together these so-called programs that are going to help people, but it's basically turning people reliant on the government teat. So
Strange, isn't it?
It is. It is. Like Canada has 37 million people compared to America's what, 320 million?
Yeah.
So you can't really compare us to when it comes to spending power and buying power per se. If our dollar was on par with the American greenback, yeah, we could probably do a lot more. But because our manufacturing has been stalled, our natural resources market has been stalled. It's basically to one customer, the Americans. Okay. But there's a lot of American Democrats that want to keep it that way too, as their backup plan, which isn't really fair to anybody. Okay. Now, if Trudeau sits on his hands and lets Joe Biden cut off the line to Michigan, there's a lot of people in Michigan to be out of work, which isn't fair. All right. That way, because our resources are going to a decent market. But now we have a pipeline that's supposed to be Canada wide that the Liberal government hasn't even bothered to build or begin to build. There was the notional gestures there, but nothing's still concrete yet. And, I don't think we'll see it. Maybe my nieces might see it. I won't see it.
It's
right?
it's rough, isn't it?
Well, it's
The decisions.
Canada's regulations are far superior to what they are in California and parts of Texas. Now, California can produce more, Texas can produce more. But when it comes to the environmental protections, i.e., keeping the air carbonless, the refinery practices, there's not as much pollutants going into the dirt and into the air because of Canadian standards, which makes it far superior oil to anything Saudi, Nigerian, or Venezuelan. So we have a market there too. America sells lots of oil around the world as well. So can Canada. But they constantly put these environmental regulations up when it comes to parts of BC to save a few killer whales, which they're not going to be affected at all. And the natives that own the land in that area, they will prosper from that too, because they'll get a good cut of it as well. So they'll have programs for their youth. They'll have programs for the elderly. They will be able to upgrade and earn a living wage just like everybody else can. But of course, you got white liberals standing in the way saying this is environmentally wrong as they drive their Priuses up to these protests. Sorry?
How bad are white liberals? Like, seriously.
Well, I know they're worse down your area than they are up here.
Oh, mate. Karen McCarran.
See, it's the traditional liberals I can respect. Traditional diehard liberals.
Dave Rubin.
Yeah. The classical liberals, the newfound new Coke liberals right now. No.
Okay. In the words of my mate Evelyn Ray, there is nothing worse than a white, woke, liberal woman.
Is she on now?
No.
No way. Okay.
I invite her, but she's not around. But yeah, so God, I don't know if you saw that video from a while ago, but it was so funny. So true though. And I've heard it said from a few other guys. I think it was it Black Pigeon Speaks?
Hmm.
He's talking about white woke women, how they always seem to like vote. Or white women seem to like feel this burden that they need to, apologize and
Go out and do their part. Yeah.
I need to speak for minorities because they can't speak for themselves.
I know. Have casual travel, even though half those white woke liberals never earned
Infinite
it
credit
themselves.
cards.
Let's go to Bloomingdale's and have some fun. Yes.
Donald Trump's so mean.
Oh,
Has he
such a
lived in like
terrible
the
human being.
Hamptons? I'm sorry, it's my only prop, guys.
Well, you gotta get a few more bucks there too. Throw a couple of 50s in there too.
I got a couple 500s here.
Okay.
A bunch of 50s.
Like I say, you got the bling, babe. You got the bling. Look at you. Like I say, folks. Oh, perfect timing, eh?
Now
Yeah.
I got to clean this up.
No, tax time. Here we go. Yeah.
I already paid my taxes.
Oh, lucky you. Yeah. I'm still getting some paper in the mail. So, like I say, folks, if you like what you hear and see, please click on to CrustyCanuck.ca. Donate. I have a PayPal link and the Buy Me Coffee link. Donate what you can. Thank you once again to Sanico for giving me 20 bucks Canadian. Thank you, bud. Appreciate that. That means a lot. And if you like joining the page, please go to my YouTube page and join. You can either join the $1.99 a month or $4.99 a month, or the higher tiers at your leisure. I like to make this a full-time commitment, so it takes viewers and my listeners, such as yourselves, to get out there and make it happen for me. So I'll keep putting podcasts up and doing live streams every week, and keep your ear to the ground on my community page and my Facebook page. In a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to have a very, very special guest, and it's a surprise. I am just waiting for confirmation from his people to let me know what's going on. So the Thursday fastball will be on a Wednesday morning on the 24th of March at 9 a.m. Sorry. That's when I can get him to have a good talk with us about life and what have you. So pay attention to my community page for updates on that. Next week's guest, I'm still working on, but I'll keep you posted on that as well, too. With me tonight is Fred Stockman out of Massachusetts.
The Democratic Republic of Massachusetts.
The Democratic People's Republic of Massachusetts. How do you do, Governor? Good to see you, yes?
That's what my dad calls it.
Democratic People's Republic?
Democratic People's Republic of Massachusetts.
How you doing? Yes.
Yeah, it used to not be a crazy. It used to be like a really blue collar, like it was always kind of a Democrat state, but yeah, not anymore. Thanks.
I remember visiting Boston back in 2000. I had a great time in that city.
People are lovely in Boston.
I love Boston. It's super clean, laid back.
Oh, it's such a clean city.
Oh, fucking beautiful. Charleston Navy Yard, great place to visit.
Yeah. Guys, come to Boston, bro. Awesome city. Seriously. Like, don't stop. New York's a waste of time. It's all the only nice area that's clean and somewhat safe is like Times Square. Everything else is just gross. Seriously. Boston is where it's at. We got all of the wonderful different cultures that came here. It's not like New York where everyone's kind of, sure, you have your Chinatown, you have your Italian, but it's way, in Boston you have, when you walk down our streets, right, you got probably the most unique groups of people you'll meet. Sure, we got all the standard, Chinatowns, you got the Italian neighborhoods, but it's all so clean and safe, and you'll have a great time. And the pubs here are awesome. Just wait until the lockdown's over.
Yeah, well, considering I don't drink like I used to, but I'll definitely have a pint of Sam Adams for sure. Yeah, that's a good brew.
Bush is.
I bet Sam Adams is good beer. I like that. So.
Yeah, our big ones in Boston are, of course, we have Sam Adams, Anheuser-Busch. That's a very common beer. It's drunk here. Yeah, so there's a lot of nice pubs in Boston. Lots of great food too. A lot of
no doubt.
It's
and
much
of course
the rest of the East Coast.
Home of the Bruins too.
Bruins, a great team. Love the Bruins.
Bobby Orr's Mecca. Yes, only the best defenseman that ever played the game, as far as I'm
My
concerned.
grandfather met him.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, right on.
he saw him actually a couple times because they'd sit near each other when they take the train into Boston to go to work. So you'd see him in the mornings and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, awesome dude. So he was a real nice guy.
No doubt, no doubt.
Hockey players are great guys. Most of them are just really chill people. Notice that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting Bobby Orr in my live stream sometime. Sit and talk about the game and the concept, how it's changed over the years too,
How old is
especially the politics. I think he's got to be hitting 70 at least now.
Yeah,
I would say Bobby Orr's got to be about 70.
Yeah.
Because I know he only played maybe about 12 seasons because I know his knees got shot up pretty bad. Well, not shot up, but damaged pretty bad when he was a Blackhawk. So, but I barely remember him. I barely remember footage from the 76 Canada Cup series where he kicked ass in that series too. So, but yeah, as far as I'm concerned, him and Paul Coffey were the best defensemen that ever played the game, especially when Paul Coffey was an Oiler. It's a damn shame that Walter Gretzky passed away. Canada's basically Canada's hockey dad when you think about it. You know, it was it was sad, but it was Walter's time, right? It happens. But
Bruins are a great hockey team.
well, a lot of history with the Bruins, right? Original six, right?
Yeah.
Tiger Lammy says yes. Bobby Orr, yeah, exactly. Number 4. Where are you, number 4, Bobby Orr? Exactly. So, like I said, probably the greatest defenseman that ever played the game. So, okay, folks, get your questions in as much as you can now. I might be shutting this down in the next few minutes. With me tonight is Fred Stockman from the Red Stockman Podcast. Young American patriot outside of Massachusetts. We talk shop, politics, airsoft aficionado, history reenactment, and just an all-around cool kid. Please, you can check out his work at Fred Stockman at YouTube. Give him a shout. Check out his videos and his podcast on Anchor FM too. Quite the informative podcast in regards to the social spectrum, American politics, and some Canadian politics too for the Canadians living down there in Massachusetts. So please check out Fred Stockman.
Nice people.
Well, we try to be.
Well, you're probably the meanest Canadian I've met.
No.
No, there's worse. Justin Trudeau is much more.
Trust. Oh yeah. And please, ladies and gentlemen, too, please stick around for 7:00 on YouTube. New episode is debuting. The Crusty Canuck podcast. Third wave. We don't need any stinking badges. And the suicide bill, C7. So tune into that. It's about 40 minutes long, and I'm dropping a lot of F-bombs in that too. But I give you viewer discretion warning now, and you'll hear it prior to the podcast as well. So please tune into that. It'll be debuting at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 9:00 Eastern, and sometime tomorrow morning for my Australian listeners out there too. So probably 11:00, I guess you're talking in Australia. So tune into that if you can, folks. So please get your questions in too. And if you feel like donating, please donate. You can either ask a question to myself or to Fred or to both of us. So,
was rugby ever big in Canada?
There's a lot of rugby fans. There's a national club, as far as I know. I knew a few guys in high school that went out and tried out for Canada. A couple lads actually found some decent work in Wales with the rugby, but it's not as big as, let's say, New Zealand or Australia.
Yeah.
Or South Africa, for that matter. They used to have a regimental thing a few years back in South Africa. The RCR used to play on with the South African equivalent, sister regiment. Then used to have a ceremonial game. Battle of Paardeberg was a big battle with the Canadians and some Brits against the Dutch Boers. So that's like a celebration, if anything. But last time I heard about the RCR going to South Africa might have been maybe 15 years ago. So they'd have like a ceremonial game and a big dance and a dinner and then a big drink up and then tour around kind of thing. And then a couple of days later, fly back to Canada. So
yeah,
it used to be quite the regimental thing at one time.
I definitely want to go down at some point and, pay my respects. I'd love to see if there's any of the war memorials, if any names are on it. I don't know. I'm not sure. I know the Rhodesian Services Association is in New Zealand. It's not far from where my cousins live, actually. I hope to do that at one point. That's a cool. Yeah, guys, look that up too. Rhodesian Services Association. There's a lot of good men that that fought in that war for a long time.
Yeah, it was a good 10 years, I believe, wasn't it?
15.
At least 15, yeah. So basically the skirmishes in the bush, certain urban areas, but yeah, back and forth, just a constant quagmire of bullets and bullshit. So a long fought out war.
There's not many veterans. Well, there wasn't many guys who actually fought in it because the security force was only about 20,000 at a time in total. But most of them actually are in Australia and New Zealand. That's where the most of them live. So you'll see, a lot of them still march in the Anzac Day parade. Actually, they let them take along, which is kind of cool.
Rightfully so. Some of the Remembrance Day ceremonies that we did in Ontario, you'd see the odd Canadian Vietnam vet come up. He'd have his association patch or whatever unit he was associated with, the United States Army or Marines, and you'd see a few of them out there, and they'd have their POW flags. One would carry an American flag, the other would carry a Canadian flag, and they'd march along with us. No big deal. They thought they were doing something right at the time, and they did. And your recognition should be the same as far as I'm concerned. Regardless of what the political was. With regards to the politics, it's because you figure about 30,000 Canadians from I think 1965 to about 1971 volunteered with the American Services, and considering our population at that time was maybe 22 million, that's a pretty chunk of men go out and volunteer for a foreign war. So to them, really,
yeah.
But
that's more than Australia had about 50,000 troops in Vietnam. So just for comparison, 30,000 is quite a lot of soldiers.
Oh, it is, and there were some key battles that those Canadian men were part of too. One of the guys we talked to on the Adam Danny Mizet show, the pipe boss, a Canadian who joined the United States Marines. He did 4 years in the Marines. He just left Canada, joined the United States Marine Corps because he wasn't really impressed with the Canadian model at the time. Did his 4 years of service, but I learned a lot about Marine history and learned a lot about Canadians that served with the Marines during that war too. So he was quite privy to that information. So,
yeah.
Right. But that's the thing. Like there's even during the American Civil War, apparently they said there was about 10,000 Canadian colonialists, from what I read, joined the Union Army.
Yep.
All right. So Canadian colonialists.
I know there was definitely Commonwealth people in the Australian Army too at the time of Vietnam.
It wouldn't surprise me. Well, at one time it was okay to, let's say, leave Canada, join the British services, Australian services.
Yeah.
That's what the CANZUC model wants to promote too, not for the sake of military service, but for the sake of trade and commerce. So let's say, you want to go to New Zealand, you can do it. You want to go to Britain, you can do it without all the red tape BS with policies and what have you, because it's almost like that's where the Commonwealth makes sense. At one time, I think they used to call it the Commonwealth Clause, where you could do it because of World War II and what happened in Korea, because of the constant back and forth. So now that I think that changed in the late 60s too, especially when Trudeau came and screwed everything up. But
yeah. I know there was definitely, because people say Britain didn't fight in Vietnam, but there was a number of British men who were in the Australian military in Vietnam, and there's a pretty famous battle called Long Tan where I know a guy from Scotland was one of the scouts in it actually, and he was a really brave man. I forget his name, but they were tough, really tough soldiers.
Well, I saw that movie on Amazon, The Battle of Long Tan.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it quite a bit.
It was a good.
I remember one from years ago called The Odd Angry Shot. It was about the Aussie SAS. John Jarrett, the crazy serial killer guy from, what the hell was that? Wolf Creek.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
Well, he was you know, when this movie was made, he might have been about 25 years old. The guy's hitting about 70 now. So, but yeah.
You want to get around to seeing a good movie?
Oh yeah, I definitely go see it. Odd Angry Shot. Tiger Lammy midget. I had a playmate defense. His idol was Bobby Orr, who was playing the same way. Number 4 captain. Cannot win the puck away from along the board, but fair fight. Okay, sure. Well, get your questions in, folks. We're going to shut this down in a few minutes here. I'm with Fred Stockman this evening, podcaster, American Patriot, airsoft aficionado, all around good kid from Massachusetts. Like the Bee Gees song, right? Massachusetts. Right? You never heard that song?
No, I haven't.
No. Well, the Bee Gees had a career prior to their disco days. So they're known to be decent songwriters. So
yeah, Massachusetts. Besides Boston, it's not that exciting.
You're outside of Boston, right?
Yeah, we're a good distance from it, but we can get there in probably like 40 minutes.
Oh, okay, yeah,
not too bad.
Yeah, because like I said, when I went down in 2000, I was down there just prior to, or they're just starting what I guess they call the Big Dig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
that has been going on since it's over now, but that had been going on since like probably I was a young kid, man, like 5 years old, maybe younger.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been going on, and it only recently ended. In I remember, I think maybe like 3 years ago.
Shit, that's about 20 years now.
Yeah,
the Big Dig.
Yeah,
gotta love bureaucracy, right?
Yeah,
Excellent.
I think it lasted about 15 years. So, yeah, that was a long time.
Wow.
God.
What's
I know
Boston?
a couple of guys that worked on it.
Oh, wow. And what's Boston? About 2 million people?
No, not that much. Just under 1 million, I think.
Oh, okay. So they haven't cussed, but still, yeah, that's a.
But technically, in the Boston area, there's probably about 2 to 3 million people.
So the greater Boston, okay, metropolitan Boston itself. Okay.
Because Boston
is a great time when I was down there. Loved it. I love that city. So
wonderful area. I'm glad I grew up here. You know, I'm probably not going to live in Massachusetts much longer. You know, because there's just no reason to now. It's too
migrate down to Texas.
Yeah, something like that would be good. Florida, you know, any of the southern states would do at this point. They're all open and they're not like so much cheaper to live there now. It's just Massachusetts has gotten far too expensive for what it's worth. Like, sure, we have great education here. That's really it. That's the only real benefit of living in the state. You know, the weather kind of sucks because it's just strange and you never know what to expect. And it's just the taxes are just staggering. It's probably like the 5th highest in the country, I want to say.
Wow.
State income. And then not to mention you got to pay your federal income, which is already high enough under Joe Biden. So no real
reason
to live here.
And the what's the real estate on that?
I'll just give you a reference. The parents that my house, sorry, the house my parents bought right recently to live in. I'm here now. That house costs about $800,000, and it's about 3,000 square feet in total for the property. And we live in a town, so it's not like this is a rural area. Like our neighbors are 10 feet from us. So
your typical urban home, nice yard, nice square footage, decent basement. Everything's decent, up to code.
Yeah, it's nice. No, it's a good area. I just think that it's too crammed in.
For $800,000 too, mind you, right?
Yeah, it's not worth it. I don't think.
Yeah. And how old's the house?
Made in the 1860s, actually. This house.
So it's like a Victorian.
Yep.
Jumping Jehovah. Okay.
Made just after the Civil War, 1865.
Wow. Yeah. That's worth 800,000.
Yep.
So that's roughly about $1 million, about $1.6 million Canadian.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive here.
Jesus. Wow.
I will never be able to afford to live in this state realistically, even with my trade where I'm making, you know, like my boss makes a 6-figure salary and he can barely afford to live here. You know,
And see, that's the thing, because you'd have a trade, you have a skilled trade, you'd be more than qualified to work on any job site, and yet you can't afford a home, right?
yeah.
Unless you were, stuck in STEM or selling drugs or making porn.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to disappoint because I'm not a little bitch, but the STEM thing, like, sure. I think another big thing is because Boston is really big in the medical field.
Yeah.
We have some of the best hospitals in the world here.
Oh, no doubt. You got into medicine, that'd be great.
It's amazing. I mean, I have to
Yeah.
say, like, if you have an illness, you come to Boston. It's just a fact. Around the country, it's well known that, like, I was actually, funny enough, I was watching a movie and people were like, they were sick or whatever, and they had like a rare disease, and they actually had to go to Boston for it. So it's well known that we have amazing hospitals here. But the downside is it's like you live in an area where it's brutal to live here. It's expensive. It's the taxes are high.
Well, in Vancouver and Toronto, it's the same thing with housing. People love the lakeshore housing. People love living by the Great Lakes. People love living by the ocean, and they pay ridiculous amounts of cash to do it. Right?
I don't think it's worth it. I liked growing up here. It's a good place to grow up. You got the experience. You met a lot of different people, different communities in this place. You kind of can keep your culture somewhat. So if your parents are foreign and whatnot, like mine, you can kind of keep your culture a bit. But otherwise, yeah, it's not. In my opinion, these liberal states like Massachusetts and New York, they're just not worth it. And unfortunately, it's not so much Boston that's going down, in a gross area like New York and California are, and like they're big cities. Sorry, like LA and New York City and stuff like that. It's more so the South Shore, like below Cape Cod, basically. What I'm talking about, like Fall River, those places. Those old industrial towns are just brutal now, and it's so much drugs, so much gang violence. So it's no longer safe. It used to be a lot safer to live in these places.
Kind of like older Detroit used to be. It used to be prosperous.
Yeah.
Well, the Sanico says he found a nice place, 160 acres for $389 with 16 square foot house and a bigger shop garage thing. Well, that's how Alberta rolls too.
That's really nice.
Pretty cool, especially 160 acres. There's a lot you could do with that too.
I really want to get a place like that.
Well, I was thinking we're sitting on about an acre and a half in our place here, and when we bought the place, it was a foreclosure, so we had enough for a down payment, and it was roughly 150 foul. Everything as is, right? There was no furniture left here, but they lived one hell of a mess because the owners had to foreclose and the renters just didn't care. So we had replaced some insulation wire, replaced some plumbing, but it added up. And now, after our assessment, our place is worth about 175. So we'll get a decent rate now again, and our return's going to be fantastic if we do decide to sell. So we'll be good to go.
To me, that's just astonishing how much money that's worth, opposed to like where I live. It's ridiculous. It's like you got to be a millionaire. And by the way, when we bought our home, we got a deal on it. So this home wasn't valued at 100 it wasn't valued at 800. It was like probably a lot cheaper because we had to put in a ton of money to fix everything because the previous people they didn't take very good care of it, and there was a lot of issues with it. So I don't even think we technically paid that much money. But now, 5-6 years later, from after the economy's changed a bit, it's skyrocketed in price. Every house in this town has skyrocketed in price. And it used to be affordable to live here. Like a previous house was maybe, I don't know, $100,000. It wasn't too expensive. That was about 1,000 square feet at most. It wasn't too bad. Good start at home. But like now it's probably worth triple that.
Yeah, just because of the market. Yeah. That's the thing, right? Well, Sango says too, mostly treed where he's at. So 160 acres with a lot of trees. That's fantastic. That's a lot of a good airsoft. Right?
Oh, yeah.
That's right in the jungles of Da Nang. Da Nang. Right? So
Get a bunch of pallets and put them up against trees. That's what we do.
yeah. Oh, yeah, fuck it. I'll make you dig at stage 5, proper trench.
I love
There you
it.
go. Proper trench.
My buddy is
So,
digging.
folks, feel free to ask us any questions, myself or Fred. We're going to shut this down in a few more minutes. It's people like you that keep these live streams going, so please consider donating today. DeSanico, thank you again for that $20 input. Much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do like and hear what you see, please go to CrustyCanuck.ca. You can check out my PayPal link with a Buy Me a Coffee application, donate what you can, or join the page. Become a member of the YouTube page. For $1.99 a month, you get to see my ugly mug every week, plus a proper shout out and accolades where it's warranted because of your donations. I'd like to make this a full-time position, but it's going to take viewers and listeners such as yourself to help me make that happen. I'm at 8,000 plus subscribers now on YouTube. So please help me reach 10,000 subscribers so that way I can get more videos and better content out there for you all to enjoy. Once a week, I try to do what they call the Thursday Fastball with Crusty Canuck, where I have a guest such as Fred or my friend Adam or other key guests in the future. And we'll ask questions about life, real estate, politics, and the social spectrum we call our lives here in North America. To my Australian and European listeners and friends too, please feel free to ask a question or tune in to every Thursday at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. A day later for my Australian and Kiwi friends too, right? So any more questions, please feel free to ask, ladies and gentlemen. I think, again, just waiting on his, I have 10 tickets.
This piece of equipment?
Bush hat?
Yeah. Malaya.
I've got my Canadian bush hat. Not that one per se.
Yeah.
Is that your Kiwi hat?
Yeah. New Zealand.
Oh, nice. You need some lures on that, though, boy.
Yes, I do.
Get some fly fishing going there. Right on.
Yeah, but that's Malayan campaign. It's dated like 1965 on the bottom.
Nice.
Yeah. I'd issued too.
Traditional bush hat, eh?
Perfect. Yeah. British cut, yeah.
Nice. So I hope the Sanico gets his ticket. That'd be excellent. $45 an hour. That's good life. That's good work. Steady work. Just don't let the liberals know about it too, because they might want some more carbon tax out of that.
Maybe you guys should just stuff all your money in a mattress.
We're thinking about that. I'm thinking I might just start investing in crypto and gold too. I don't know. That way, if shit hits a fan, I've got my little memory stick, and then I've got my gold bars tucked away someplace else, plus my guns and ammo. So I'm rocking and rolling.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
It's like, you can't take me alive, and you just got like a flash drive in your helmet scrim band. It's like,
gotcha.
Shoot doors at the feds. You can't take my money.
Oh, Sue Kozakowski. Hello, Sue. Yes, Sue's a member of the $1.99 a month club. Please consider donating today if you can, folks. Like I say, I'm Crusty Canuck, and my guest is Fred Stockman, aficionado of the Fred Stockman podcast. Classical conservative, American kid, know-how, blue collar. We speak the social bullshit in both of our countries. So right. Feel free to ask any more questions, folks. Remain open for a few more minutes here. So you can also reach Fred. Oh, sorry there, Fred. Just putting your name up there. You can reach Fred on YouTube as well. Follow the Fred Stockman podcast. Just look for Fred Stockman on YouTube, and you'll see him in there with his Aussie Kiwi bush cap and having some great videos on Rhodesian military history, Australian history, and airsoft. Check it out today.
I think I have two channels. Yeah, I have two channels now, actually. But the other one comes up right when you look at my name, so should be.
Well, you'll see it there too. So
that's a pretty good channel. I want to post more videos on that soon because I think I'm going to get a airsoft G3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. I think it's a pretty cool rifle. I don't know how you feel about it, but.
Well, you're talking airsoft. I prefer the actual real thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm quite content with my AR. I'm quite content with my M14 knockoff. I've got a special rifle I purchased for hogging, for pig hunting, and for moose. If I get a chance to get a ticket this time around, And I've got a nice Enfield too, a classic
Lee
World War
Enfield.
II Enfield. They're a beautiful rifle, reliable, easy to clean. I'm really happy with that rifle, big time. So,
What year is it?
I think it's 1942, stamp 42. So, yeah,
So it's the
stamp
number 4
42.
then, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
Because the number 4 has the sights are faced back a bit. They're not at the very end.
a little bit. Yeah, the one I bought, it was only about $300, and the guy had a platform he mounted onto it for his sight, right, for his scope there, or his. But I never used the sight. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I'm used to the military way. You know, I'm not a sniper. I never was. I was a decent shot, but I just never needed the sight per se. So I just know when to.
I was gonna think about getting my gun license. I was looking at a Lee Enfield, but it was like $700 US. I was like, oof.
Nah, now you can find them cheaper than that.
Because I've seen them for. I saw a jungle carbine, believe it or not, for like 300.
Mm-hmm. That's about average. Yeah, I would say that.
Sounds about right. The only thing is, I don't want a carbine. I want full length. I think carbine's a little short for me. And also, I've heard it's not as accurate as the full length number 3 and number 4.
Well, that's because it was made for close quarter, right? You want the 304. So. You want to reach out and touch something, and the 303 is an excellent round. So,
yeah,
excellent round, great load, low maintenance. Just keep it clean, keep it dry. So,
yeah.
Anyhow, folks, we're going to shut this down now. I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful March 11th, 2021. My guest tonight was none other than Fred Stockman. You've seen him before in my first earlier episodes, but Fred will come on from time to time, weigh in, give us his wisdom and his point of view, which is always welcome here in the Crusty Canuck podcast. As I remind you, in the next hour, my newest episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast will be premiering on YouTube. So please listen to that. A lot of swear words. I'm a bit angry at this time. Lots of swear words, a lot of F-bombs and C-bombs and pint-sized bombs.
This isn't a construction site.
No, but it's my site.
This is Crusty Canuck.
This is Crusty Canuck's site. Yeah, you're working for me, bitches. Needless to say, though, not that you're working for me, I'm working for you, my listeners, my viewers out there alike. So I'll say again, if you feel like donating, please consider donating. You can find me and donation pages at crustycanuck.ca. It takes viewers and listeners like you to help me achieve my goal, making this a full-time commitment. And please share my work. Give me a thumbs up on the YouTube. Pass my videos around like Smarties at a party. By all means, give it a shot. Help me reach 10,000 subscribers so I can continue making more content for you and my listeners alike. Like I say, 7 o'clock is the premiere of my newest episode. It's called Third Wave. We don't need no stinking budget. And the government's C7 suicide bill. So I'm very, very vocal about the suicide stuff because of my personal experiences with PTSD and what I live with right now and today. Plus, I've known a couple of people that have succumbed to the results of PTSD. So it's not pretty, folks. But please listen to the episode, pass it around, share it around too. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, all that good stuff. And don't be afraid to give your friends a buddy check too. It doesn't matter what profession you're in, doesn't matter how you look at things. If you're not feeling right about something, talk to somebody. A dad, a mom, your best friend, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your lover. Doesn't matter how you identify. If you're not feeling all together, talk to somebody. Don't buy the stigma. Just go out and just speak your mind. You know, heck, even some strangers might help you because it was a stranger that got me through some of my tough times too. And it helps. Every little bit helps. So don't buy the stigma. Don't worry what Meghan Markle says.
I was going to say, don't be Meghan Markle.
Don't be Meghan Markle. Yeah.
Don't be like, I felt like I was going to commit suicide. You literally have doctors at your beckoning call.
Precisely. And you couldn't just reach out to a medical professional there?
UK psychiatry. So, how do you feel about that?
Yes. How do you relate to this? How do you really feel? How does it feel to be one of the most privileged people on the planet and yet have so many problems? What's wrong with you guys? Yes.
I'm not going to question though, because there is people who there's a lot of like really affluent people though who do have like severe mental illness though. That's not.
Oh, no doubt. And I'm not trying to make light of it either too. But when someone portrays himself to be some big victim, in something
Yeah,
when they have also had every opportunity to speak for things. Instead, they just wait for Oprah to come knocking on the door, or they arrange something with Oprah, so they got paid and Oprah gets paid. I just don't see that. I don't see the genuine. I don't see anything genuine about it. They both got paid. There you go.
Oprah.
You know, if I got paid for speaking about my problems, I probably have a full head of hair by now. So there you go. Right. And folks, like I said, with me tonight was Fred Stockman from the Fred Stockman podcast, and I have been your host, Crusty Canuck, on this beautiful March 11th, 2021. Spring is a-coming. Remember this weekend, spring ahead. Jump your clocks an hour ahead, too. Give yourself that extra hour of no sleep. So when you have your Sunday brunch, you can sit there and play with your coffee like you're a lost child. But don't worry about it. Like I say, please check my premiere at 7 o'clock. You won't be disappointed. And please look for me there too at the Adam Daniel Mosé Hidden Gem live stream, which we do every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We sit with a bunch of people. We just talk about politics, social spectrum, and life as we know it. So please check that out. So, Fred, thank you once again for joining me on the Thursday Fastball live stream. Any last words before we sign off?
Live the extraordinary, ordinary life. That's it. Have fun.
You can also find Fred on YouTube. So check out Fred Stockman on YouTube. Great. Thanks again, Fred, for coming out.
Thank you for
Much
having
appreciated. Right on. And if you're inquiring about the Veterans Coalition Party, please follow the link at the bottom of the page. VCP, Veterans Coalition Party of Canada.com. And if you have any questions, please get a hold of myself or Gilles Jobert on Facebook, or look for my writing in the Crowfoot Battle River riding and ask for John. And I'll answer any question you have about the upcoming election and what the VCP stands for. So please consider that today. Like I say, please consider donating as well. So without further ado, I have been Crusty Canuck, and with me tonight has been Fred Stockman. Thank you again, Fred, for joining me. And have a good night, folks. Remember, like I always say, look after your friends, your loved ones, do what you can to help each other out. And remember, humanity and merit wins the day. See you next time. Bye for now.